Okay, so it's been ages since we've had an update, and we worked extremely hard. Mish helped immensely. Got a huge amount done in a very short space of time. The car is at a point where it's drivable. It's been for 2 MOTs. First one it failed pretty catastrophically, I'd say, but only just because the vast majority of the fail items were nuts and bolts that I've actually forgotten to do up. And you get to a point where you're rushing a project like this, it does happen, unfortunately. Excuse me, I'm suffering with a hay fever today. Oh. So, suspension nuts and bolts, things like bushes that I was going to nip up after it was on the ground, once the bushes were under load. And once we got those sorted out, it actually passed reasonably easily. Probably the best thing I can do is if I just start showing you around what we've actually got up to. So that's the car as it stands, literally on jack stands. Went through a whole load of leak fixing and all sorts. So we've got things like my little DTM mirrors on the car, which came out really nicely. All of the plastics are sorted inside. All of the interiors in. All the seats. If I open up the boot, so all of the door cards are in. There's still a bit of untidy wiring in there, which is kind of understandable. We've got harness bar, all the mounts are in, all of the interior plastics are sorted. Got some carpeting done. It's not perfect, but got a little bit more time to sort that out. So engine wise, so what else did we have done? One of quite big things is the wastegate sorted out. So I ran out of time with this a bit, so I ended up running out of time to make a flange. I just had one sorted in titanium, but I ran out of time to be able to get that welded properly and things. So what I did was I actually used one of my other wastegates. I think the remnants of which are up here. Yeah. So this is one of the other bodies. So I've got 5 of these wastegates. What I've actually done is I've cut that flange off with an angle grinder, because of course that flange is the same as the flanges on the other wastegate. So what I could do was use that, flip it round, and use it as the other side, which worked really nicely, because effectively I've got another nice investment cast flange, which I could then TIG weld this to, which comes out through excuse me, that hole up through the bonnet. Works perfectly. It's not quiet, but hey, it's a road car, so we're not trying to work to any noise regs or anything like that. So at the moment I've got intake pipe off, because this flange has been an absolute nightmare. It really has. The issue is that I'm trying to I didn't have any gaskets for this, so I made one out of copper. I've tried various different nuts. Currently we're on drilled brass nuts, which I hand drilled myself. I made a jig up to try and get it lock wired, because the turbo actually fell off on the way back from the MOT centre. When I say fell off, 2 studs were undone completely and one nut was almost all the way off, so the turbo is hanging off. After lock wiring it survived quite well. But as you can see down there, if you can see, that gasket is actually melted and extruded out the side, because, again, it's come loose. After thinking about it, I've done a reasonable amount of research, and according to NASA, there are very few ways in which you can actually get a stud and nut to hold tight. It looks like the best thing for me at the moment is to go for a K-nut on some new studs. And I have a feeling one of the issues is under here. I don't know if we can see it. Just trying to tuck you up there. It's pretty dark, isn't it? Let's try that. So, can we see? So up here, there we go. I've built this bracket which bolts to the sump. So, what that's there for is, we've got, I'm trying to get the right way up. This is our turbo assembly up here. Downpipe comes down, snakes around, you've got a lambda sensor in there, runs down, you've got a flex, a join, V-band, comes down, there's another flex back there as it runs under the car. I think that I have actually got, it's too rigidly mounted. So what's happening is, as we've got vibration on the engine, because I've got the manifold hard mounted to the head, turbo is supported via a bracket, but it's hard piped all the way back to where that join is just above here. I think that there is actually relative movement between the two as it moves around, so it's fretting on the gasket face, which means that it will slowly undo. I mean, that's the worst case scenario for a bolted joint pretty much, is if it starts fretting. So I'm going to undo and lose the bracket, which is hidden up there in the darkness. And if you see back here, there is another bracket back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to support it using this one, bolt it up, build a bracket up to probably the sump up here somewhere, so that the exhaust is hard mounted to the engine here. We've got a flex. This bit back up here, this bit is free to move using this flex. I'm hopeful that it's weird, because you would have thought that if it's moving around that it's going to cause more problems, but I think having that flexibility there should hopefully stop it having problems. Nice thing is that under here we've got, there's no leaks or anything, it's all pretty dry. They're a little bit damp, but not too bad. I mean, all the gearbox is dry, no coolant leaks, it's all pretty good. Whoop. Tuning wise, I've had the engine running up to, so about 5,500–6,000 RPM and about 3/4 of a bar of boost. So what's that? About 10–11 psi. So not running it too hard, but hard enough to bed in the rings and make sure it doesn't smoke or anything. And at the moment, it starts up and there's no smoke at all, which is great. That turbo, which is, I don't know, 20 years old, something like that, which I just stored with a load of mineral oil in it, seems to be absolutely fine, so that's good. It's had one oil change after 16 miles better, just to make sure that we didn't have any junk in there. It was pretty grubby. So that's got fresh oil in it now. Everything appears to be working pretty well. I just need to get on with the calibration patch. So that's about that. I will try and do a few more videos now that we've got some more free time, although I've started ripping the kitchen apart because, you know, can't stop. Yeah, I'll try and keep up with it, and thanks very much. Cheers, guys. Bye.